My cheating wife buried our family and the magic of Christmas. Why does she expect me to tolerate her behavior? My wife, 37, got a new job 4.5 months ago, and she made new friends. I'm 36. I didn't like them at all. They were all fierce feminists, professional victims and supporters of the leftist agenda. These are the kind of women who will yell at you if you open the door for them, or if you don't. You can't win either way. At first, I laughed it off, but over the last 2 months I started noticing worrying changes in my wife's behavior. We've been married for 11 years and have 2 children, a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. The situation was getting worse. She started blaming me for all sorts of ridiculous things, like that I was born evil because historically men oppressed women. Things I did for her that she used to appreciate suddenly became reasons for arguments. All her arguments were complete nonsense. I tried to stay patient, and these arguments usually ended with me saying something like, "But I haven't done anything wrong to you. The only thing I'm guilty of is loving you." Usually, she would mumble something in response, and the next day, she'd come back with the same complaints, only slightly altered. About 5 weeks ago, I got a sharp feeling that something was really wrong. She came home late at night without warning me that she would be late. I couldn't reach her by phone. She was quite drunk and behaved coldly and distantly. The next day, she waved it off and said I was controlling her too much and exaggerating. This happened a few more times. I tried to check her phone but couldn't find anything concrete, though I suspected she had deleted many messages. However, I found a conversation with one of her new friends where they discussed how she would ask me for an open relationship. I immediately realized my intuition hadn't lied. She was cheating. In the chat, my wife said she would talk to me about it on the second Monday of December. My kids are currently with my parents to celebrate Christmas. We were both supposed to join them today. So she tries to start this conversation at breakfast, as if it's just a random thought, and asks me what I think about open relationships. Luckily, I was prepared and started recording the conversation. I had studied many similar stories and knew that saving the situation was unlikely. My most optimistic outcome was to come out of it with a shred of pride and self-respect. From that moment on, it was all about protecting myself and the kids. I didn't yell, I didn't shout. I just went into jaw-clenched interrogation mode. She had been confident until that moment, but it evaporated instantly when she saw my expression. "Who is he?" I said. "What do you mean?" She tried to look innocent, as if she didn't understand. "If you want to discuss this with me, don't treat me like an idiot. At least be honest. If you can't be honest, what's the point of this conversation? What do you mean? If you lie now, we won't be able to discuss what you want to discuss. In our relationship, I can see that you're hiding something. It's obvious. Who is the guy you're sleeping with?" "Oh God, there's more than one." "Stop. Just stop. You've completely destroyed my trust in you. I see that you're lying. Either you're honest, and we discuss this, or I divorce you. Our marriage ends right now. No arguments, no discussion, nothing. Just a divorce. Do you understand? Say it. You understand? You understand that if you lie, I will divorce you. Say it. You understand that I already know a lot? I read you like an open book. If I catch you lying, it's over between us. Tell me you understand." I understand," she said. She told me about 2 random hookups she had when she went out with her friends. I asked their names, whether they were married, whether they used protection, and so on. Both were married and had children. Then she said she planned to sleep with a colleague at work and continue doing it because it was good for her and that I had no right to control her. "What the hell?" I asked. I asked about the colleague, got his name and his wife's name. He was married, but according to her, they had an open relationship, exactly the kind she craved. She continued saying that she was going to set me up with some of her colleagues, one of them apparently very interested. What the hell? I'd seen that friend and I wouldn't have touched her with a 6-foot pole. I said I wasn't interested. I asked for her phone and she showed me the unlock code while she went to the bathroom. I locked myself in my study. She panicked, and while she was banging on the door, I launched a recovery program on her phone for deleted content. And after 30 minutes, I got a lot of painful evidence. I also installed a spyware app. I came out, gave her the phone back and told her to leave. She argued a lot. I mostly didn't answer, only one-word responses. She didn't seem remorseful at all. She shouted that I was controlling her, holding her back the way men always held back women, that I had never loved her, that she had every right to do this, that she expected me to just accept it, that it was a small problem, and so on. I didn't argue, barely spoke. I just packed her things while she yelled at me. Eventually, we ended up by the front door where I just stood silently until she ran out of energy. Finally, reluctantly, she went to her parents' place. On the stairs, I told her that now she was free and could do whatever she wanted. I would no longer control her. My lawyer will contact her in January. When she turned to reply, I just slammed and locked the door. Later, I watched her discuss this with her friends. They told her how strong she was for demanding what she had a right to, that she deserved someone better than me, that my threats were empty and I wouldn't follow through. What really worried me was that they told her she could simply accuse me of domestic violence if needed. One of them even told how she accused her ex-husband and took everything from him. I ordered cameras to be installed in the house. Now I know I have to record everything. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I never threatened her in any way. Then she started messaging her lover to meet. They arranged a date at a hotel. I was absolutely furious. I went online trying to find the lover's wife. It didn't take long. I managed to get her to accept my friend request on Facebook and told her everything over the phone, including about the planned meeting. She thanked me and hung up. A few hours later, she sent me a video. She went to that hotel and confronted them, screaming. It was clear her husband had cheated on her before. "You fucking bastard! You do this to me and the kids again. I told you it's over between us. If you do this again, you're a fucking dog." She walked into the room and filmed my wife getting dressed on the edge of the bed. It turned my world inside out when I first saw it. The lover's wife hit her and unleashed a torrent of abuse on her. I sent my wife a message saying I'd seen the hotel video and that I never wanted to see her near me again. She seemed detached from reality and didn't understand that we were getting divorced. I went into my wife's family WhatsApp chat and announced that we were divorcing because of her infidelity. I thanked them for making me feel wanted and part of a big family before leaving the group. I got several calls and messages from her relatives, but I didn't read or answer them. I simply don't have the strength. I called my parents and told them everything. My father told my wife that it's Christmas and nobody is waiting for her now. I'm at my parents' place. I talked to my boss and he gave me leave until mid-January to sort things out. I watched my wife become more and more desperately involved in conversations with her new friends. I don't think she realized she'd lost her family, that her marriage was over, and that her new friends and lover actually didn't care about her. She sent me many messages and even showed up at my parents' house begging to be allowed to celebrate Christmas with us. My father threatened to call the police if she didn't leave immediately. I am drowning in tears and searching the internet for divorce lawyers. I thought I was feeling terrible, but an even deeper pain hit me as soon as I arrived at my parents' place. I just can't understand it. Reading their messages and interacting with her causes me so much pain. I only replied to her messages twice, with words like, "It doesn't matter what you say, I don't know who you are. You are definitely not my wife." My wife would never have broken my heart and soul with a smile on her face. We are getting divorced. I don't care what you say or want. You no longer have any right to demand anything from me. It's over between us. As I said, you are not my wife. I don't know you. My wife would never have condemned our children to the pain and suffering of growing up in a broken home. Whoever you are, you seem proud of what you've done. My wife was loving, caring, attentive, my best friend. You are a selfish, self-absorbed creation. After my last message, she stopped writing. The pain is sometimes unbearable. I wish this had never happened. I wish I could go back to how things were, but I just can't treat myself that way. This is the worst Christmas of my life. I couldn't hold it in and explain to the kids that their mother no longer wants to be with us, that she wants to be with other men, and that we're getting divorced. Naturally, they were confused. Luckily, my mom and dad are here to help. They surrounded them with love and care. Meanwhile, I am completely shattered. I will try to get back on my feet for the sake of the children, but I will never go back to her. Of course, it would have been better to wait until after Christmas to take them to a psychologist, but I just couldn't hold it in. I explained it when they asked when their mom would come. I could never look at myself in the mirror if I went back to her. The level of disrespect and heartlessness is simply unforgivable. I am lost. I just don't understand why she thinks she can demand anything from me in this situation. Is she mentally ill or something like that? Sorry for the incoherent ramble, I just needed to say this. By the way, I found out there won't be any issues with my monitoring. I spoke with a lawyer my friend knows. The phone is mine, the subscription plan is mine. Yes, my wife uses it, but I own it, so everything is fine. Monitoring my own equipment is not illegal. Update. A lot has happened since my last post. I apologize for not replying to anyone or posting an update. Honestly, I had no time at all. So much happened, and I would like to give myself credit, but the truth is that all this time I was a pitiful, crying wreck. I became somewhat obsessed with my wife's messages with her friends. There were many insane and painful things said. What ultimately broke me was how my wife described, in very harsh terms, how her marriages, especially the children, were a burden in her life. How they stopped her from becoming a successful woman, from realizing her full potential. She described me, her husband, as an oppressor who didn't let her live a good life, saying it was exactly the family that kept her from having a successful career, enjoying numerous casual relationships, and so on. I just broke down. I couldn't handle it. I spent the next 30 hours reading and rereading every line of those messages, over and over, reflecting on all her words. I realized she didn't give any details about how exactly we were a burden or oppressors to her. They were just empty statements with no examples or justification. In reality, I never stopped her from doing anything. I paid for almost everything on the minimal salary she gets from her part-time job, which really wouldn't have been enough for anything. I supported her hobbies, dreams, and ambitions, even when she went to stupid courses for idiots, one after another, which she always quit halfway. I tried every day to show her I loved her and appreciated everything she did for the family. I arranged romantic dates for her. Was there when she needed me. If that was oppression, I would gladly have more of it, please. At some point while reading, I just passed out. When I came to, 3 of my best friends were in the kitchen with my father, cooking dinner. I've known these guys since childhood. Let's call them Mike, Bob, and Frank. My father invited them over and brought them up to speed on what had happened. Soon, I broke down again. By Friday evening, Mike, a former soldier who lost his left arm below the elbow, was with me. We had all been there for him during his recovery, and his wife had left him. Luckily, they didn't have children. Mike adopted 2 kids and a few years ago found a wonderful girlfriend, so he's doing well now. He organized a Zoom call with his counselor who helped him during his rehabilitation. He helped me understand what was happening to me emotionally, even though he specializes in working with amputees. I was shocked by his stories about how, unfortunately, many wives abandon their husbands when they get injured. He said that my soul is deeply connected to my marriage and my role as a husband, but that part is now dead. And just as amputees feel phantom pain from a missing limb, I will feel phantom pain from the dead part of my identity. We spent several hours talking, and since then, I've started to feel better. Bob is a manager at some IT security company. He doesn't talk much about his work. I don't even really know what he does, but he's doing well. He called a law firm contracted by his company, and on Sunday morning, I spoke with a lawyer I never would have even dreamed of talking to in my life. Bob has always been a big nerd and was often bullied. He told me not to worry about costs. He would cover everything. He was happy to finally pay me back for the times I defended him from beatings. Frank is a teacher at a private school for children. He's married and has 7 kids. Yes, 7. My children just adore him and his whole family. Frank takes care of my kids while I get back on my feet and put my affairs in order. Yesterday was a very hectic day. It started with an early morning STI test, and guess what? That bitch infected me with chlamydia. Another test in 6 months. I was just floored. When I found out, my self-pity turned into fucking rage. That's it. Finita la commedia. Now it's only full custody. I won't give her a single cent if I can help it. The lawyer was able to track down the ex-husband of my wife's feminist friend, who had bragged about how she tricked him. Apparently, it was very easy to do through court documents. I wouldn't have even thought of it. I spoke with him on WhatsApp. He thanked me for reaching out and told me everything that the she-devil had done to him. Now I know what to expect from her. It was disgusting, and I was ready for the fight. No, for a full-on war. It was heartbreaking to hear how he became homeless and barely saw his children over the last 4 years, all because of his ex-wife's lies. I realized that legally I am at a disadvantage as a man, but I will make sure I have plenty of evidence. My lawyer suggested taking an aggressive move via a restraining order due to her negative and aggressive statements about all men, especially for the sake of our son. Being raised in a household with openly anti-male parents is obviously very harmful. Therefore, I will seek full custody. I told my lawyer to act, and she expects to obtain the restraining order today. I had a Zoom call with my wife. Keep in mind, she hadn't contacted me at all since she showed up at the door to argue with my father. She hadn't reached out to the kids or anyone else, so it didn't seem like she cared about any of us. The call was very strange. She was fully made up, wearing a deep neckline. It was obvious she was trying to look her absolute best. I hadn't seen her like that in many years. Throughout the conversation, she tried to provoke me into a fight, to make me angry, but I managed to stay calm. My lawyer explained what I should ask my wife for. Apparently, the court considers it a very positive thing if one party attempts a peaceful divorce before filing. I was recording the conversation and even told her about it. Of course, my little wife didn't disappoint. She started with an absurd statement about there being two types of sticks. The first type is when it's roughly the same size regardless of whether it's in working order or at rest, and the other type is the one that contracts and expands depending on the situation. What the hell? Who starts a call with their husband like that? Then she said she was eagerly looking forward to personally exploring this fact in more detail. I simply replied that I wasn't interested in her hobbies, that I was only interested in discussing our divorce. When I didn't fall for the provocation and didn't get angry as she wanted, she openly showed hostility. At one point she said she would go to the bathroom and muted her microphone. Then I observed her consulting with her friends about what she could do to me. She insulted me several times just for being a man. Throughout the entire call, I had this strange feeling that she was treating it like some kind of game, that she was controlling the situation, and that I had no choice but to comply with whatever she wanted. We made no progress on our divorce, so I concluded, fine, let it be a contested divorce. Also, you infected me with chlamydia, and unlike you, I haven't slept with anyone else, so you better go see a doctor. She just frowned like, yeah, sure. I believe you. I have absolutely no idea what's going on with her, and at this point, I don't care. I sent the recording to my lawyer, and she was, to put it mildly, shocked. At this point, everyone thinks my wife has gone insane. Maybe she has. Since I own her phone and subscription plan, I can use the chat logs in court. As I said, it's completely legal to monitor your own device as much as you want. After our call, there was a heated discussion among these she-devils, but I was finally able to leave it. I no longer care what they talk about. My lawyer is confident that we will win this case, as long as I haven't withheld anything. So where I am now, it still hurts, but now I can perceive this pain as phantom pain. I have stopped pitying myself, and I'm going to the bank, burning all bridges. I need to protect myself and my children. I'm okay. My children will be okay too. I will make sure they get as many therapy sessions as they need. My wife will soon become a distant memory, and I will start building a new, better life. Short update. Today I found out she knew about the chlamydia and got treatment but didn't tell me. What a bitch. What a monster. She joked and laughed about it with her slutty friends. Update 2. I'm getting a lot of feedback like, you're strong. You'll win. Reading my posts, I realize I seem angry about this situation. I may seem stubborn and confident, but the truth is I'm not. I regret that all this happened. I wish my family had stayed whole, and that ahead of me there would have been a long, calm, comfortable life with my wife while the children grew up and began their own lives. Here, no one wins. My wife has gone off the rails like a runaway, uncontrollable train, and now that train is burning in the ditch. I don't know what's wrong with her. She refuses to see psychologists about possible problems and behaves as if nothing is happening. She still shows no remorse or regret, acting like the problem is in my head because I simply don't understand what she wants. Since that very day, she has hardly spoken to the children. I am moving on because I have no other choice. Her behavior left me no options, and now there is no way back. How I wish none of this had happened. I will never be able to trust her again, and every night I fall asleep in tears, mourning the loss and the fact that my children will now grow up without a mother. After all, they no longer have a normal relationship with her. How do you answer your child when they ask why mom doesn't want to see them anymore? She doesn't love me. What the hell do you say? If anyone knows, please tell me because I honestly don't know. Every day I wake up and tell myself that my heart is already broken into so many pieces that it can't break any smaller. And every day I keep realizing that I was wrong. My wife still doesn't know that I can track her messages, or maybe she just doesn't care. She is 100% sure that I will never leave her and that my reaction to her behavior is completely unreasonable. She continues to speak badly about me, our marriage, and our children in conversations with her friends. I don't understand why she hates us so much. We didn't do any of the things she accuses us of in front of her friends. As I mentioned, my lawyer obtained a temporary restraining order against my wife. But yesterday morning there was a hearing, and since there were no new direct threats, the order was not extended. My lawyer suggested using the fact that my wife deliberately infected me as leverage to try to get her to agree to an uncontested divorce. I would like us to part amicably, and it pains me that I am forced to see her as an enemy and always assume the worst possible outcome. If she wanted to leave, I could have accepted that. But why force me to participate in this extremely hostile process? Why is she doing everything possible to hurt those who once loved her? What benefit could she possibly get from this? I would appreciate any opinion on this because, to me, it simply makes no sense. If it comes to court, I will probably have to pay her a lump sum for her share of our house and so on. Most likely, I will not have to pay alimony, and given her lack of interest in the children, I hope to win custody of them. If it goes to court, in any case, my lawyer suggested trying to get her to agree to a peaceful divorce. I agreed, and possibly this week we will meet with my wife and her representative. The ex-husband of that same lying harpy spent New Year's with me and the kids. The injustice of the legal system toward fathers is just incredible. Now I have no illusions that the court will be fair if it comes to that. His ex-wife lied through her teeth, and the court simply accepted it as fact, no evidence. The guy barely saw his kids since being forced to pay unaffordable child support, and it almost broke him. He even considered ending it all forever. With the new information he got from me, he has hope again. We both spoke with my lawyer. She suggested he hold on to the evidence he received from me. If he takes action now, he would expose himself to that gang of male-hating women. The goal of my lawyer is to get me and my wife divorced as quickly and painlessly as possible. Right now, I just hope I can get away from her. If she decides to fight, this could drag on for a very long time, and it is exhausting me. I just need to be free. Update 3. Unfortunately, this strange story continues. Yesterday afternoon, there was a meeting with my lawyer and my wife. She was 30 minutes late, came without a lawyer, and stated that she didn't need one. Instead, she brought one of her new friends. Until the process is complete, I can't share all the details of our conversation. My lawyer gave very clear instructions on how to behave. I was not supposed to show a negative reaction to their words. If they addressed me, I was supposed to respond in a complimentary manner or at least without rudeness. If my lawyer placed one or both hands on the table, palms down, I had to remain completely silent. So they were late. That friend, the harpy, tried to insult me and provoke me in every possible way. My wife did the same. My lawyer tried to steer the discussion to the substance of our divorce. But they just joked and laughed, mostly at their own insults directed at me. Watching it was very awkward. Now it's all clear. My wife still thinks this is all a game, that I won't be able to divorce her. In her mind, only she can divorce me, and only if she wants to. If she decides to divorce, she will get everything. I just sat there thinking, what the hell is going on? Honestly, I said almost nothing. I essentially responded only a few times, and it was something like, yes. You're probably right, or I really don't know. Finally, when they had slightly calmed down, my lawyer took the floor and began to present a proposal for an amicable divorce settlement. One of the first things she said was that I was prepared to be generous for a quick and peaceful resolution, that I would pay her a large sum, $60,000, for her share of the house, investments, and so on. The lawyer hadn't even finished this sentence when my wife and her friend became excited, that horribly dressed friend of hers, and my wife asked, "Where do I sign?" My lawyer asked several times whether my wife would like to read the rest of the agreement first, but no, she wanted to sign everything immediately. She started asking when she could expect the money and said they had to leave for a trip. Then my lawyer called someone, whispered something, and a flurry of activity began. An older woman asked for our passports, and we were asked to sign 2 copies of the documents. When we finished, the elderly woman placed a stamp. Later, I learned she was a notary. My lawyer, almost pressing her palms to the table, thanked my wife and her friend, saying we were done. They left, and my wife didn't even take her copy of the agreement. She left it on the table. My lawyer looked at her flat palms and then at me. It was obvious she didn't want me to say anything while they were still in the building. When we saw them cross the parking lot, my lawyer looked at me and said, "Congratulations." Then she talked at length about how these were the strangest divorce negotiations she had ever conducted, and said she would only send my wife's copy after the judge's hearing or if my wife requested it. Until then, the document would simply be forgotten in a desk drawer. At first glance, it seems I will get through this divorce much easier than I thought. However, my wife can still hire a lawyer and challenge the agreement. My lawyer said she would use every connection she had to arrange a judge's hearing as soon as possible, most likely a video hearing. I also hired a private detective yesterday on the advice of a commenter. That detective took photos of my wife with 2 different men in 2 different bars. She went to a hotel with one of them. So I already have a lot of evidence in case it's needed, and I hope it will be enough if it goes to court. My wife signed a document giving me full custody with no alimony or other obligations, except for a one-time payment of $60,000, and I am free now. I just need to find the money, but I have a plan. Bob offered to lend me the entire sum if necessary. I still can't believe it's real, and I expect that at any moment she shout, "Here's my deranged aggressive lawyer. I accuse you of molesting the children and domestic violence." My lawyer advised me to keep a low profile, pay for everything. I normally pay, don't rock the boat. Don't contact anyone we both know, just sit quietly and wait, don't react to anything. No actions until court. Now I only need to be patient and hope for the best. Update 4. So yesterday the hearing took place and I am essentially divorced. The official paperwork will take another 4 to 6 months. At this stage, the outcome cannot be changed unless my wife and I together decide to stop it. I'm so exhausted, I don't even remember how many days I haven't slept. So if I'm jumping from thought to thought, sorry, I just need to get this all out. I need a vent. I hope I'll be able to sleep after I write everything down. My wonderful lawyer managed to get an early hearing just 12 days after filing the papers. No doubt she used some connections to do that. Now in more detail, the last few days have been absolute madness. On Friday morning, a whole group of police officers knocked on my door with a search warrant for the house. I was completely bewildered and worried about the kids, so I asked if I could take them outside while they conducted the search. Fortunately, they agreed. They didn't really explain much but gave me a copy of the warrant. I was so shocked that I couldn't even understand what was written in it. It seems everyone who said that my ex's behavior might be related to substances was right. This is at least one factor. The police literally started turning the house upside down. I called my lawyer. She spoke with them, but the warrant was genuine. At that moment, nothing could be done. I didn't think about it then, but I had cameras installed everywhere in case of false accusations. I have video and audio recordings of everything that happened, so I might be able to file a complaint later if I want. Honestly, I'm not sure if I have the strength or desire to do that. Maybe I'll just sum it up and move on. At that time, I didn't know that my ex and 3 of her friends had taken my car, and being high and completely drunk, crashed at high speed into someone's house. Everyone was arrested. They were badly hurt in the accident. One passenger is in critical condition, and it's unclear if she will survive. The leader of this gang was that same friend of my ex. Let's call her Henrietta. She's the one who bragged about tricking and lying about her husband. During the search, I testified that my ex no longer lives here, that she moved to her parents' house, and that I don't know what she's doing. No, I did not give Henrietta permission to drive my car, or anything like that. When I got back home, I just broke down. The house was a complete mess. It seemed like the last straw. The only thing I could do was call my father, who took me and the kids to his house with my mom. Then my father gathered a whole group of 26 friends and relatives. While I sat in the backyard eating my mom's amazing food and feeling sorry for myself, they completely cleaned and organized my entire house. They cleaned every room, did the laundry, washed the dishes, polished the furniture, even cleaned the ceilings and walls. The house had never been this clean. They even fixed all the little things like loose door handles and so on. I just couldn't believe they did all of this for me. I have no idea how I'll ever be able to thank them. Over the weekend, I went from thinking about buying a ticket to the afterlife to feeling pretty good, all thanks to them. The police found a ton of drugs at Henrietta's and her boyfriend's house. The kids weren't even there. They were home alone. Child Protective Services took the children, and on Saturday Henry was granted temporary emergency custody. By showing the judge my messages, combined with the fact that the kids were abandoned and the huge amount of substances, he was granted custody without much difficulty. Henry was overjoyed. He had hardly seen his children in the past 5 years. He had been saving money for a court case against Henrietta. He still has to go to court to make the custody permanent, but the chances are very high. Everyone expects Henrietta to go to jail, and if her friend doesn't survive, then probably for a long term. After that, Henry intends to file for child support in compensation for all the horror Henrietta caused him. But honestly, he's not really counting on it. And as I understand, he doesn't want to waste time fighting in court. He just wants to be with his kids and do everything possible for them to have a good life. Obviously, Henrietta treated her children very poorly. My friend Bob once again proved himself as a true friend and found Henry an apartment through a contact. I realized I know almost nothing about Bob's personal and professional life. I think I need to fix that. But back to the story. During the accident, Henrietta was driving. Everyone was seriously injured. And because of the combination of alcohol and drugs, search warrants were issued for the residences of all involved. My ex is still registered at my address. On Sunday, I decided that I would sell this house and leave as soon as possible because I'm afraid this could happen again. That same day, her parents called me. Their house was also searched. They visited their daughter in jail on Saturday and no longer trust a word she says. In short, they came to talk to me on Sunday, and it turned out that she had been lying to them about everything. All those nights she was out partying and cheating. She told them she was staying with me and that we were trying to fix things. They had no idea what was actually happening and what she had done to me and the kids. They knew she cheated, but thought it was a one-time drunken mistake. That's exactly what she told them. On Monday, my wife called me, trying to force me to pay a $15,000 bail, which her parents had already refused. After speaking with my lawyer, she prepared documents stating that the bail would be deducted from the settlement according to our agreement until she appeared in court, and the bail would be reimbursed. The agreement included that the bail would be reimbursed not to my wife but to her mother, so it wouldn't be carelessly spent as an excuse to skip the divorce hearing. She suggested that I get her out. My ex had no choice and signed everything. She was released on Monday afternoon. According to her parents, she refused to follow the conditions they set for her to continue living with them, such conditions as quitting substances, going to rehab, adhering to full transparency policies, cutting off bad friends, and so on. According to her parents, on Tuesday, she left their house to stay with one of her friends. She did not show up for the hearing, and after I showed the judge all the evidence, including the events over the past weekend, I was granted full custody of the children. The agreement was approved in accordance with what we had previously arranged. Everything went quickly, just 30 minutes. The official paperwork will take 4 to 6 months, but in fact, it's all settled now. Nothing can be changed. And here I am, unable to sleep. Everyone congratulated me as if I had achieved a great victory, but I absolutely don't feel like I won anything. All I feel is pain. I still love my wife. I know it's over and I won't go back, but until recently, she was mine, my best friend, my soulmate. And although I feel that my love for her is deeply wounded, it's still alive and it's excruciating. There are no winners here. I lost, she lost, and the children lost too. I just have no words. It feels like I'm being asked to celebrate losing both my legs, but thanks to my actions, one could be amputated below the knee and the other above. When people congratulate me, it's as if they're praising me for saving half a kneecap, even though I lost both legs. That's why I can't sleep. And when I do, I'm tormented by terrible nightmares and wake up in a cold sweat. Sorry for complaining. Today I received a call from the hospital. My ex has been hospitalized. I'm still listed as her emergency contact, and she's still on my medical insurance. She got into a fight, lost several teeth, broke her jaw, and will have to stay under observation for a few days. I called her parents, and when we arrived, it turned out that several of her new friends had severely beaten her. Rumor has it they found out that Henry has access to Henrietta's messages where she bragged about what she did to him. And because they thought my wife had given Henry those messages from her phone, they beat her and kicked her out of the group. Surprisingly, she still doesn't realize that I can track her phone. I will continue to behave as I am now, paying her insurance, phone, etc., until I get the paperwork in hand. I just can't believe it until I see it in front of me. Right now, she has nothing. She asked if she could come back home. I simply replied, not in a million years. Her mother won't give her a penny until she cleans herself up and stays in a normal state for at least a year. They offered her to live with them, but with strict conditions. If she doesn't accept this offer, I can't imagine how she will cope. This was the first time I saw even a hint of remorse from her since this all began, but I think she only regrets that she can no longer continue her madness. She said, Sorry, I destroyed everything, but I think it was said insincerely. She hardly looked me in the eyes while I was there. It was painful to see her in that state. I wanted to protect her, but she is an adult, her behavior is dangerous and unpredictable, and I must protect my children. Moreover, she didn't ask about the hearing or about the condition of her friend in critical condition. She just sat there and seemed irritated. I still don't understand how this happened. She lost everything, destroyed her family, and hurt many people, and for what? For a thrill and casual sex. I'm cutting off all contact with her completely until she gets clean and stays that way for a long time. I just can't handle any other scenario. Update. I was going to post this update yesterday, but I had no strength left. I'm in a depressed state, very, very tired. I hardly sleep, and when I do, nightmares haunt me. The good news is the kids feel better. My father is a real hero. I don't know what I would do without him. We went to his dacha for skiing over the weekend, me, him, and the kids. It was wonderful. I barely speak to my ex, but I did talk to one of her friends, the one who was in critical condition. She regained consciousness, but she looks terrible. I spoke with her nurse, who said she was sad that no one had visited her all this time. They contacted her family, but they refused to see her. I'm worried that the people who beat my ex might come after me and the children, so through the nurse I asked for permission to speak with her, and she agreed. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to ask her what had been happening since my wife started working with them. She started the conversation by asking if I wanted her to do something nice for me for $20. So yes, it was awkward. I offered her $50 in exchange for information. These friends of my ex were all on drugs, all addicts. Henrietta pulled my wife into their circle, and despite the reluctance of two of them, convinced her to try the stuff and hang out with them. They sold sexual services to get money for drugs. Henrietta was the ringleader. They all preached feminist ideas like my body, my choice, but as she put it, that was nonsense used to protect our imagined egos. In reality, they were simply selling themselves to get money for drugs. My wife fully believed this nonsense and quickly became addicted like the others. Once she was sucked in, she also started selling herself for drugs. It's unbearable to realize that the person you loved most in the world turned into a nighttime creature for her addiction. Now it's clear why she only wanted money, according to her. Mostly they were on crystal. No one visited her because she had been deceiving, stealing, and lying to everyone. Nobody wanted anything to do with her. She told me she wasn't even sad to have survived. She has no hope for the future, and without makeup she looks like a walking death. It was painful. I was crushed just listening to her and cried a lot for what happened to my wife. I'm not making excuses for her. She chose to get involved with this shit and she lost. Now she'll have to pay for it. She also told me about the guys who beat my ex. More on that later. Henrietta has been charged with death threats, resisting arrest, possession and distribution of drugs, running sexual services, cruel treatment, driving under the influence, property damage, and car theft. She was denied bail because they considered her a flight risk, and she will likely be locked up for a long time. At least I hope so. Before I continue, I want to thank everyone who shared their experience with addicts. Many warned that my ex might try to flee to the afterlife when she realized she was trapped. You were right, she tried. I had warned her father in advance that there was a high likelihood she would try something. We decided to keep a close eye on her. Fortunately, she still doesn't know I have access to her phone. On Saturday, when we were at the dacha, I received a message from her. It looked like a note before taking a ticket to the end. She wrote about her addiction, about selling sexual services, about how she had let everyone down and was going to do the one thing she had left. I immediately called her father. And because I had access to her phone, I knew her location. Her father rushed to the scene and found her unconscious on a bench in the park. She was immediately taken to the hospital, where they flushed her system and warmed her after severe hypothermia. It's terrifying to imagine what could have happened if he had arrived, even a little later. She is now on strong painkillers, and her father has become her guardian. She can no longer refuse treatment. He arranged for her to be forcibly admitted to a rehabilitation center, where she will undergo a course of treatment. I don't know exactly when, but probably this week. Her father was appointed guardian not because she was on drugs, but because she abandoned her children. Fortunately, I hadn't canceled her insurance yet, so she will receive treatment. I offered my father-in-law financial help, but on the condition that my ex wouldn't know it was me. because I was very afraid that the people who beat my wife might come after me and the kids. As a reminder, Henry presented her messages in court and they think my wife gave them to him. I discussed it with Henry, and he decided to handle it himself since he benefited from the evidence. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Henry is a mountain of muscles and rage. He grew up on a farm lifting heavy things since childhood and looks like he could snap an average man in half. He stoops to pass through doorways, has a buzz cut, and several scars on his face. Let's just say he looks very intimidating if you don't know him, though in reality, he's endlessly patient, gentle, and kind. I have no doubt he would use force if necessary, but for him it's always a last resort. Anyway, Henry went to the apartment of those guys, which, according to him, was a real dump. He grabbed two of them by the neck and told them that Henrietta had given him the messages. Since they had harmed someone he knew, they had to make a choice. Either go to the police and confess everything about the assault, or settle it man to man, here and now. According to Henry, he made it very clear that he would prefer the second option. They apparently rushed to the police as quickly as possible. Now I no longer worry about these people. I found a new apartment and will be moving soon. Bob helped me again with this. Overall, I feel very depressed, but my friends and family support me, and I know I have to stay strong for the kids. My heart breaks for my ex-wife, but despite everything, I don't regret marrying her. I still love her, but I know we can no longer be together. She's no longer the person she was before, and there's too much pain between us. But despite all this pain, we once had a good life. I wouldn't have my children if not for her, and I would never give them up. I know there will be more pain ahead, and I hope I have the strength to overcome it. Strangely, news about my wife's addiction has helped the kids cope with the situation. It's much easier to explain that their mother is sick and that recovery will take time. I continue to tell them that she still loves them and that this will not change. Right now, I feel sad and exhausted. Henry is here with the kids. We're going to watch Madagascar 3. I'm trying to create as many good new memories as possible. Henry is doing the same, and it seems both his and my children feel much better. I think we'll be okay. Thanks to everyone who helped. I suppose this is my last post, the final update. My ex-wife did indeed take a ticket to the afterlife. While in the rehab center, we don't know how she even got hold of substances. It's assumed that a packet inside her burst. I will no longer post updates. Thank you all for your advice and support. Yes, it's been a very heavy story. Leave a comment with what you think. My opinion. It's very sad that a husband couldn't stop loving his wife even when she did something like this. On the other hand, each of us dreams of finding a life partner who will love us unconditionally no matter what. They say a wife is not a relative and never will be, but this example kind of disproves that notion. In this case, the wife is not just a relative, but even more. It's very sad what substances can do to us. Thank you for watching this story to the end. Check out our previous video, which you can see here. Subscribe to our channel, as there will be many more stories like this. I wish you the strongest health and the best of luck.